And it's intercepted, and this is going to be a touchdown the other way.
That's gone.
Willie Pyle is going to take it 99 yards for a Virginia Tech touchdown.
All right, guys, another very special guest here. Ex-Chief Willie Pyle is on the line. Willie, thanks for joining us today, man. We really appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Oh, no problem, man. You came to us, 2003, of course. You were from Virginia Tech, had a nice storied career there. Just talk about what that's like being, playing for Frank Beamer, and what a great program Virginia Tech's been. Just very solid, always a 10-win team. And how was that?
Oh, it was awesome. Coming out of high school, I felt like I should have had a lot more teams recruiting me. I had great grades and great test scores, and I had pretty good ability. And because teams didn't know where to play me, receiver, quarterback, defensive back, when I got to Tech in class of 98, we signed 2 other quarterbacks. So I knew I probably wasn't going to play quarterback since one of them was Michael Vick. And I realized my future was going to be on defense. And little did I know that would be a blessing in disguise, because playing for Bud Foster, who was our defense coordinator, was a dream come true. He puts guys in position to make plays. He brings a fiery intensity to the meeting room. He set goals for the team as a unit and individually. He sits down with you and help you map out your plan. And I was able to do that in addition to the work I did in the classroom to graduate on time. And also have my 5th year since I redshirted the first year. I was able to fully focus my senior year on just playing football and being the best football player I can be in the weight room with our strength coach, Coach Gentry, and watching film with our defensive backs coach, Coach Ward, learning how to break down offenses. It got to the point where I knew the scheme that Coach Foster wanted to run and the calls that he would call based on down and distance and time in the game and scenario, to where I could call out which defenses he wanted to run. And that's the level of comfort that I got from going to Virginia Tech, and allowed me to catch the eye of some NFL teams, and most notably our Kansas City Chiefs.
All right, Willie, can you kind of tell us about your draft day experience? You were in the infamous 2003 draft with Larry Johnson. Can you just kind of go through that, getting the call and what it felt like?
Oh, man, that was a process, because the funny thing about it, looking back, was that I just knew that I was going to get drafted based on what I performed on the football field at Virginia Tech. And coming to the combine, I actually met with Coach Peter Junta, who was the defensive backs coach at the time. I met with him at the draft, and he talked, we got on the board and talked about, defensive schemes, and he told me to write up a play that we would usually run at Virginia Tech, our base D, and explain everybody's job and assignment. And, I developed a level of comfort there, and during draft day, so my agent said it's a chance that I may go as high as the 3rd round, and then obviously all the way through the draft, depending on where teams rated me. I did have a shoulder injury history at the time, and so it was kind of dicey. We didn't know. I didn't get drafted on the first day, and it seems eons ago, back when the draft was just a 2-day process, Saturday and Sunday. And I didn't go on that Saturday, and I didn't lose hope. I knew there was still opportunity for me to get with a team, and I got a call from Kansas City in the 5th round. And they called me in the 5th round, and they did draft me. They ended up taking Jordan Black, I believe. Then I got a call in the 6th round from Kansas City again, and they ended up taking Jimmy Wilkerson. Now, finally, I said, look, Kansas City's playing with my emotions. They tied up my line. It could be somebody else looking for me. And they made the call in the 7th round, and I said at that time, I think Miss Lisa, who was one of the head office ladies up there, I think she was the one that drafted me at that point, because the rest of the staff left out the room. I figured they were throwing darts on the board and like, we'll take this kid from Virginia Tech. He might be a player. And so that was the ongoing joke. So it's funny looking back at it. Obviously, at the time, it was a difficult process, going a lot later than you felt your abilities warranted. But at the same time, I was just thankful to see my name go across the board. It was a big moment for my family, being the first person, obviously, to play professional sports and have that opportunity, and then just kind of set the tone for the people in my area, my neighborhood of Alexandria, Virginia, being that guy that would help put our area on the map by going and playing in the NFL.
All right, you arrive in 2003. You take part in that defense. I think you were on the practice squad that year. But what was it like meeting Dick Vermeil and just being on the Chiefs?
Oh, man, that was special. Coach Vermeil was a special guy, and he still is. The family atmosphere that he made there kind of catered to the older team that we had. I was fortunate to get drafted to a Kansas City Chiefs team where we had tons of veterans who had been through all the battles, and particularly in the secondary, Greg Robinson was our D coordinator, and I had Jerome Woods, who had been in Kansas City for a long time, Greg Wesley, who had been there for a while, Shenard Hart, William Barty, Eric Warfield. These are veterans that teams would love to have now because they knew exactly how things worked there, knew how to practice, they knew how to perform on game day, how to study. I mean, I learned, and then Dexter McCleon coming that same year was a big boost because he was a true professional and really showed me the little nuances about keeping fit in season and making sure you're in the gym and in the steam room, in the sauna, and getting maintenance, not necessarily being hurt, but just making sure you're utilizing every tool that's available from a professional franchise. We had great medical staff, so use that. You know, they had people that would do massage and ART, which is active release therapy. They would do all these things to make sure your athletes are in tip-top shape. And that's the thing that I learned from that group, that secondary room in particular. Now, when you zoom out and look at the defense as a whole, oh man, we had great guys. I mean, I still talk with Warfield and McCleon and Shenard. We talk on Facebook because his son is growing up, and those guys are the ones that really allowed me to learn and see what football was like. And you look at that defensive line with Big JB, John Browning, a guy that was just quiet, but was a true professional, went about his business, didn't say much, but just made plays on game day. Eric Hicks, another guy who was a leader. So I was fortunate to go to a group that had established veterans and would show you the way. And I was also fortunate because they were older group, they had families, so it wasn't a lot of this, being out on the town and being out in the streets, because those guys had kids and wives to go home to, and myself, I was in the process of getting engaged, so it made a much calmer life in Kansas City.
Well, absolutely. And Dexter McCleon's a guy we're going to have on here in the next couple of days, too, so looking forward to talking to him.
As well as Shenard Harts.
Shenard Harts, too, yeah, both of them. So, hey, we're covering all of you guys, and
I like it.
We may leave William Barty out. We're not sure yet, but I'll tell you what. Now, 2004, what was the transition from practice squad to 2004? You were in games. How did that feel like, just going from practice squad to you're in the game, having to play against some of the great NFL teams?
And also, did it help being with the Amsterdam Admirals before, and then coming over to the Chiefs and making your way?
Absolutely. If you look at the way the 2003 season worked out, I was released. I actually made it past the first day of cut. So when Saturday rolled around, my name wasn't called. I didn't have to go see Coach Ramil. So I felt like I had made the team, and I didn't get cut to that Sunday. And usually I thought the rosters had to be in, but I guess I was released, and they said, well, we may bring you back on the practice squad, and I ended up going back home to Virginia, and I sat and worked out. I stayed in shape. I went on one workout. I didn't sign, and so I sat around all the way up until week 14, and that's when the Houston Texans called. So they called and said, we want to bring you in, and my agent said, we're not sure if it's a roster spot or a practice squad. They just want to bring you in. So I get on the plane to go to Houston, and as soon as I land at George Bush, my agent calls. He's like, I've been trying to get a hold of you. Don't get off the plane. I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, Kansas City wants to bring you back. I said, well, is Houston a roster? Because if it's a roster in the practice squad, I'm definitely going to go for the roster because it would count as an accredited season because I had 4 more weeks left or 3 more weeks left of the season. And he said, we're not sure, but the guys in Kansas City know you. They want you back. You need to go there. And I was like, all right, I'm going to trust you. So my agent, Brian McElroy, he said, go to Kansas City. I get to Kansas City, and the very next week, the Buffalo Bills called me and said, we want to bring you on the roster. So now I'm faced with a choice. Do I go on the roster and earn 2 weeks, which doesn't count as a full season, so I would still be a rookie next year, and in a situation where I was kind of a stopgap, versus going back to Kansas City and knowing what the system is like, knowing who I'm competing with and what I need to do to make the roster, plus knowing that they were going to send me to NFL Europe. And I said, I made a bigger decision in my life. I said, I'm going to stay in Kansas City and not go and, for an extra couple $1,000. I would stay here, learn the system, go to Europe, develop more as a defensive back, and come back and make the team. And so they allocated me, which is what it was called. They allocated me to Amsterdam, and I was fortunate to play for a coach named Jeff Reinbold. Now, Jeff Reinbold grew up in the Frank Gant senior way of playing special teams, and he was also an excellent defensive backs coach. And so, knowing my role was going to be on special teams, I learned and I soaked up as much information as I could. He would send back reports to Coach Gantz Jr. He would send back reports to Coach Ramil and the staff, and they knew that it was my progress. And so when I came back, the new coordinator had came in, which was Gunther Cunningham. So I never played for this guy, didn't know him from anybody, and I missed all of minicamp, all the OTAs. So I came back right at the end, and I was still in game shape, so I stayed in shape over the summer, came back in training camp, and I started performing. I had a new confidence with me on special teams, had a new confidence in the defensive scheme, and unfortunately, Lyle West got hurt. So it was fortunate for me because that moved me up the depth chart. And then once I was running with the twos, Greg Wesley gets hurt. So now I'm running with the starters. And so I start against the Cleveland Browns in the preseason, and I showed them exactly what I'm capable of doing as a safety. I played well, and when he came back the next day, Gunther said, I trust you as in the same level that I trust Greg Wesley as a starter, and you're going to have a future with us. And so that allowed me to go into the regular season, and I played the first game in Denver. Greg got hurt, so I ended up starting the next couple of weeks. And probably my signature moment was getting no practice reps during the week and going in against Antonio Gates and playing man-to-man against him the entire game.
Wow.
Now, we lost the game because it was at home. We had a couple turnovers and gave up a big pass at the end. But Coach Ramil gave me a game ball and made sure that he recognized that I epitomized what he wanted. Guys who may not get reps during the week, but are always ready, knowing that they're one step away, one play away from having to take major reps. And I went with no practicing to all the special teams and D'ing up one of the premier tight ends in the league and having a pretty good game. So that was my experience in 04, starting a bunch of games and making a bunch of plays with the starters.
Wow, that's awesome that you got a game ball and everything. You said you played with Gunther. We know he's very vocal, kind of gets in players' faces. What was that like? Did you have any altercations or 100 altercations? I don't know.
Nah, not even. Gunther was a special coach because he demanded excellence. And more than anything, he demanded intensity because he coached intense. He taught the game intensely. Like, even the meetings were fired up. He'd break out those yellow glasses, called them his hunting glasses, and he would tell, we're gonna hunt quarterbacks. We're gonna go out there and make plays and make life miserable for the QBs and disrupt the offense, disrupt the scheme, and that was his deal. And as a defense, we kind of took that attitude. Now, we had games where we played lights out. We had games where we barely could stop anybody. But his attitude and his demeanor never changed as far as what he demanded in practice on a daily basis and then what he demanded in games. So I respect him a lot. And like I said, he gave me an opportunity where he didn't say, hey, we got to move Chenard over to strong safety to cover for Greg being out. He said, no, we're going to play Pyle, who may not have the same experience, in-game experience as Chenard or Greg Wesley or, even Lyle West or whomever. But he said, we're going to put you out there and let you make plays.
You noted that you played for the Amsterdam Admirals in NFL Europe. That has since been taken away. What do you think? What effect do you think that has on players now, and how critical was that for you?
Oh man, it's tough. I feel bad for the generation coming up now because they lose that avenue to basically like spring ball. I mean, us most athletes are used to coming from a college where they had spring ball, and it was a chance to work on your skills and refine some of the things you're good at and some of the things that you aren't. You're able to improve on those. So NFL Europe allows you to do that in game situations against really good competition. So it's like it was like a super varsity, not quite NFL, but it was had that level and that same intensity. So I played against great guys who ended up making rosters throughout the league and going on to have pretty good careers while I was in Europe. And it's just unfortunate. So you hope that there's some sort of way to develop these young athletes, which is an area that we'll talk about in a little bit, where I am now, as far as getting these guys exposure and allowing them to play. Maybe they don't make the 90-man off-season roster or the 53 regular season roster, but there's an avenue for them to go out and display the talent because everybody loves this game of football. And so for me, I was fortunate to come up during the time where NFL Europe was alive and functioning and, may not have been the most financially responsible league, but I tell you what, it was a great opportunity for guys to go out there and play, crack some heads, and still come back and be able to make a roster.
Oh, definitely. What are you up to now, Willie? I mean, are you still in the area, or what's going on with you?
Well, after I left Kansas City, that next year I got released. Unfortunately, I tried to stick around, and they wanted to keep Jerome Woods. They brought in Sammy Knight, so they had their starters and their backups. They moved Barty to safety, and me and Chenard were the odd guys out. So I moved on to Dallas, and I was able to. They signed me straight away, and I ended up being a nickel safety with Roy Williams, and I had a good season that year. And we made our permanent home here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And after I left Dallas, after I got released from Dallas the following year in '06, I went on a couple workouts, didn't sign, and I ended up going to to the CFL, to the Toronto Argonauts. And up there, I really found my niche as a strong side linebacker, almost like a glorified strong safety, and also a free safety. And I played up there from 2007 all the way to 2012, and was named All-Star, team captain, nominee for Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, I had a really good run with the Toronto Argonauts. We didn't win any Grey Cups, which is the one thing that I really would have loved to have on my resume was the championship. But I met a great group of guys and developed relationships that last a lifetime. And after I retired, during this off season in the CFL, you're allowed to play 6 months, basically June through November, and then there's 6 months off for you to pursue whatever you want. And I started working on my master's in athletic administration, and then I made a hard left and went to the performance training side. Mm-hmm. And since then, I've helped a group of young men go through the combine process, through training, position-specific work, working with DBs and linebackers on footwork, and then working on overall speed and explosion and athleticism and endurance, getting guys ready for the combine. And then we have an off-season program for the NFL vets, the guys who are already in the league. They would come back here to Dallas-Fort Worth and train with us, and then we started working with high school kids as well. And so we kind of just keep this cycle going where you work with the youth, develop a sound work ethic and fundamentals of the game. You work with the high school kids to help them get exposure in college, work with the college guys to help them increase their ability and what the scouts are looking for at the NFL level, and then you work with the NFL guys to, you help those college kids transition to the NFL through the combine and pro day process. And then after that, you allow the pro guys to continue their career and hopefully, help them work their way to a new contract through their work on the field. So the name of the company is called Fourth and Inches Sports Performance, and we have the website fourth-and-inches.com, and we're doing some exciting things down here in the DFW. Football is really king in Texas, and so we plan on taking over the whole scene, athlete by athlete, and just training them the right way and making sure they're getting the fundamentals of sport, of football, and also how to live properly, taking care of themselves, making sure they have the right mental capacity to play this game of football.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're in the right place for that. Not more of a hotbed of talent than in the state of Texas when it comes to high school athletes, that's for sure. Now, before we run out of time, I got to ask you, you're from Alexandria, Virginia.
Yes, sir.
Of course, the famous Disney movie, Remember the Titans, set in Alexandria. Yeah. I mean, talk about how, that movie is viewed around town and maybe how accurate that was compared to, how things really played out. I know that's a big part of the town's history.
Yeah, it is. And the way that movie played out, the team, if you remember, where the coach, where Denzel Washington flips the other coach bananas, banana, when they go to shake their hands at the end, because TC was one of the first schools to actually integrate the athletes. That school ended up being the school that I went to high school. So that was Groveton High. Okay. And Groveton High merged with Sandburg to create West Potomac High School, which is the school that I graduated from and went on to Virginia Tech from. And so that part of it, as far as the scene and how it was situated, obviously it's a little bit older than me, but from what I understand, that's how Alexandria was. T.C. Williams is a great school. The way they have it set up is they have their own 9th grade campus, which is called Mini Howard, and then they have the 10th, 11th, and 12th grade at T.C. Williams, and that school is huge. I mean, it's one of the largest in the state of Virginia, and they always produce athletes. They have tons of NBA and NFL caliber athletes. They've had track athletes, and a lot of just great students come through there. So TC is a great school, and it's in the city of Alexandria. The part of Alexandria that I'm from is the Fairfax County side of Alexandria, and so we were rivals. I didn't lose to them too many times. Like I said, the level of talent that comes through that school is second to none, especially in basketball. They really have had some great athletes come through there in basketball. But Remember the Titans was it definitely helped put the city on the map. Denzel and Coach Boone and Coach Yost, those guys were still living when I was there, and when they were filming the movie, they were in the city as well. So Hollywood did a great job of depicting what it was like, what the theme of the area was like during those difficult times. But then how football, which is what we also train our athletes, is that football is the ultimate vehicle for not only teaching life but teaching teaching you discipline and teaching you how to deal with other people. Like, you know, the end game is to be successful, to live a happy life, and some people choose to use the vehicle of football to get there. And that's what I was fortunate to do. And then that's what we as a company, Fourth and Inches, is what we try to instill in the athletes that we work with, whether they're young or older, is that football's not going to be around for a long time. Use it as a vehicle to achieve some of the goals that you have for yourself and for your family, so that you leave a legacy that's bigger than just what you did when you put the pads on.
I love hearing all that stuff from you, because that's exactly you know, the fundamentals you want to instill in kids these days. And I'll tell you, we would definitely urge all our listeners to go check out Fourth and Inches and check out what you guys are about. Willie, I cannot tell you enough, you know, how happy we are to have you. You've been incredibly insightful. And I'll tell you what, next time we got to get you on soon again. We'll talk about, you know, some of the current NFL happenings and the state of the Chiefs these days. But we appreciate it, man. We will definitely be in touch.
Not a problem. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm definitely, you know, trying to keep up with the guys that are there with the Chiefs. You know, Derek Johnson and Brandon Flowers, a fellow Hokie. So, and I see y'all signed Abe Elam, who was here with me in Dallas. And so I definitely pull for those guys to be successful, and I do my best to try to keep up with what's going on, so I can be a little more knowledgeable of what's going on with the Chiefs. So hopefully they can turn this thing around and get some wins on the board, and, you know, stop some teams. I figure that's the issue they're dealing with now, getting some stops and, you know, getting timely plays made on offense. So I look forward to talking with you guys soon.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot. We're going to try to get some stops. Hopefully next week going to be tough against the New Orleans Saints, but we're going to try, man. So hey, we appreciate Willie. We'll be in touch. We appreciate it a lot.
Take care, Willie.
Not a problem. Thank you, guys.
All right.